Breaking news. In the last few moments, further files relating to the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein have been released in the US. Our US correspondent, well, we can show you some of them now. Now, there are 4 pictures we can show you as part of, there's overall 95,000 being looked at. They've been released by the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee. As you can see, Donald Trump features in this one. Looks like several women there as well, but their faces have been covered. Let's bring you the next one.
This kind of stuff with Jeffrey Epstein also doesn't help the conspiracies, because there is a very real component to someone who is firmly in the intelligence communities, both in the CIA, both in Mossad as well, operating inside of the U.S. boundaries with seemingly no pushback whatsoever, with seemingly marginal pushback, getting a lot of coverage in the news, but never about his association and his connection to Israel when everyone can see it. And at a time when there's no more complete control over what kind of information is disseminated, you can't just not cover that shit. When you don't cover that kind of stuff, people go, okay, there's got to be a reason for why you're not covering this angle. It can't just be Drop Site News or Democracy Now! Or people like myself consistently covering Jeffrey Epstein's connections to the state of Israel, and people are seeing it. And then New York Times rarely covers it at all, if they ever offered any coverage. It's marginal, and it's a buried lead in the background of a story about some other shit related to Jeffrey Epstein.
This features Steve Bannon, the former advisor to Donald Trump, certainly during his first term, in an office there with Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein on the right there at a desk and with his computer.
Yeah, for the record, very interesting. I don't know what the f- is going on in this frame picture, by the way. This is very strange. But this is something that I've talked about quite a bit. Steve Bannon's association with Jeffrey Epstein. If you recall, Steve Bannon actually did a deposition for Jeffrey Epstein, and he still has hours and hours of deposition footage and recorded conversations with Jeffrey Epstein. When Jeffrey Epstein was slated to go, when Jeffrey Epstein was under legal scrutiny again, and when people called into question this association, they were like, "What the f- are you doing? Why are you hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein?" He turned around and he said, "Oh, I was just like shooting a documentary on Jeffrey Epstein in a negative way." Okay, we have yet to see the full tapes, and I don't think we will ever see the full tapes. Okay, why the f- was Steve Bannon? Why the f- was Steve Bannon hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein like this? Recent TrueAnon Eps go deep into the Bannon part of the oversight dump for curious chatters. Yeah, TrueAnon's all over this. Yeah, Steve Bannon and Epstein posted up for a fit pic together. What's up with that? Does this look like a negative association with Jeffrey Epstein? No, because it wasn't. It never was, by the way. He tried to present it as such after the fact, after he got caught, because he was doing a trial run for Jeffrey Epstein. He was trying to do PR for Jeffrey Epstein, but they were boys.
Computer. And we can go to our US correspondent, David Blevins, who joins me now. David, a lot of people have been pushing for this kind of thing. The Democrats have released, well, there's a handful we're showing, but there's a huge tranche.
Yeah. In a late-hour bid to restore his reputation after Miami Herald and other stories question his plea deal, Epstein engaged Steve Bannon to help prepare him for a major PR push. That is precisely what this was, okay? Make no mistake. Steve Bannon claims that this wasn't the case now, but that is absolutely the reason why he was connected to Jeffrey Epstein. That's the reason why he linked up with Jeffrey Epstein. This photo is, I assume, of a victim, maybe that's why it's censored, because like the only faces that are censored from the oversight Dems is usually like the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, and I can't tell what this looks like. I don't know if it's like Yeah, it's a framed pic. This dude has some freaky ass shit too. Like he just has so many freaky ass photos all over his house, dude. It's just so nutty, so disturbing. It looks like a foot with the sock brand cut out. What? Yeah, the bar is over their face. That's a person. That's the reason why it's censored. The only people that are censored on these in these photos that they're releasing are people who are not like implicated or are victims. Okay. In any case, let's get to it.
Of something like 95,000 as part of this latest dump.
Yes, Matt, let me try to explain what exactly has happened in the last few minutes. The Democrats on the House Oversight Committee, that is the committee on Capitol Hill investigating crimes carried out by Jeffrey Epstein, have received, they say, 95,000 images from the Epstein estate. They have now released 19 of those images, and they are striking. 3 of them are images of the President of the United States, Donald Trump. Also, there is a picture of the former Prince Andrew, now known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. There is, as you say, a picture of Trump's former advisor, Steve Bannon, and others among those images released. But I think it's really important to stress at this stage that just appearing in a picture that has been released by the Epstein estate is no indication of wrongdoing. NBC, our colleagues in the United States, has reached out to each of these people for comment. None of them has been accused of wrongdoing, and all of them have repeatedly denied any knowledge of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. But I think there will be much focus on the 3 photographs featuring Donald Trump. He has, of course, in the past indicated that he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein in the 1990s and the early 2000s. Each of them owned a mansion in Florida, and they were filmed together, for example, at a party, because the American financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein really partied with the rich and famous a lot. You're looking at a picture of him with Woody Allen there, because he cultivated relationships with influential.
Of course, by the way, of course, Woody Allen was all over this. Of course, dude.
People, politicians, academics and celebrities. And so there was much shock in 2008 when he was convicted of procuring a minor for prostitution and served a controversially lenient jail sentence. And then in due course, we know that he was arrested on federal sex trafficking charges, accused of exploiting and trafficking numerous underage girls. So these pictures will...
Bro, what the is this wash coverage? They acting like it's surprising rich people hang out with other rich pedos? Come on, dude. It's mainstream media. They can't be like, of course. Köpek hala arkada orospu evladı. Evet, çok kötü durumu köpeğin.
Will be scrutinised heavily. We've now had a statement, I should say, from Representative Robert Garcia, who's the ranking member on the committee from the Democrats. And this is what he's had to say. This latest production contains over 95,000 photos, including images of the wealthy and powerful men who spent time with Jeffrey Epstein. Images also include thousands of photographs of women and Epstein properties. Oversight Democrats are reviewing the full set of photos and will continue to release photos to the public in the days and weeks ahead. Committee Democrats are committed to protecting the identities of the survivors. 19 photos can be accessed here. And he goes on to say, it is time to end this White House cover-up and bring justice to the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and his powerful friends.
There's something so strange about these guys is like the same with Nazis, right? They like kept meticulous details about the people that they were killing, right? And it's the same with like Jeffrey Epstein, where he was just like detailing every aspect of his life. And I guess like for him, it makes a lot of sense because like this is part of the job, right? You were doing that. You were filming everything because you wanted to have blackmail, But one of the things that I find somewhat strange, if I'm being a little cynical here, I think that the actual meat and potatoes beyond the famous celebrities and beyond the pedophilia allegations, or which celebrity was actually engaging in like a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein specifically for the pedophile sex trafficking stuff. There's also a shit ton of financial crimes that were taking place, money laundering and the like, and that every day that the media talks about like the most interesting angle from the public perspective, the pedophilia stuff, is a day where they're not talking about the financial angle, because there is so much money laundering that took place. There is a tremendous there is an unlimited amount of paper trail, okay? And for some reason we just don't talk about that stuff at all. The media never talks about the Israel angle. The media never talks about the weapons trafficking. The media if at all, talks about the financial aspect of this. Let's be real, nobody cares about the financial angle. I care about that. That's the most significant part of this. Beyond the pedophile sex trafficking, like that was the most consistent thing that he did. It's crazy that we still don't know how Jeffrey Epstein made billions of dollars. Like is that normal? Also, I am a firm and committed believer that like that was overlapping. Like the blackmail and the sex trafficking and the weapons trafficking went hand in hand with the espionage element, and the proof, in my opinion, is in the paper trail. And that is the one aspect of this story that rarely ever gets mentioned, alongside the Israel angle, of course, especially in mainstream media. We're getting closer to where Epstein's power came from, although we're not all the way there yet. But this is also how he became a powerful shot caller with his own office at Harvard. Wexner paid tens of millions to fund a public service program for Israeli officials there. New leaked emails show that Jeffrey Epstein sat at the head of a powerful financial empire, built to funnel money to promote Israeli interests in the United States. Epstein had power of attorney over the fortune of billionaire Les Wexner. For those of you who don't know, the founder and owner of L brands like Victoria's Secret and the like. This is how he was able to accrue billions of dollars, right? Even his New York mansion was basically gifted to him by Les Wexner. This is stuff that we do know. But his emails reveal he was also a shot caller in his powerful philanthropic foundation, which has channeled hundreds of millions of dollars to Israel-linked causes in America over the past several decades. So this aspect of it was suspected, and yet the Wexner Foundation had actually said that Jeffrey Epstein had no decision-making power at all at the Wexner Foundation. This is a lie. The emails actually show that he was making unilateral decisions at the Wexner Foundation. The Wexner Foundation has claimed that internal reviews show that Epstein was merely an absentee trustee that had no meaningful role in the foundation's budget or finances. But correspondence from Epstein's Yahoo inbox show that he acted as a de facto chief financial officer for the foundation, making major decisions about the taxes, lines of credit, large fund transfers, and politically sensitive grants. The Wexner Foundation is one of the most powerful Israel lobby groups in the U.S. between 2003 and 2018. After Epstein resigned in 2007 and before his death, the foundation gave over $128.4 million to pro-Israel cause in the U.S., making it the third largest donor to such causes during that period. This is, of course, another piece from Dropsite News from Ryan Grimm and Murtaza Hussein. Ask Jeffrey. Epstein ran Wexner's pro-Israel philanthropy machine, emails reveal. Contrary to what the Wexner Foundation had claimed in the past, this trove of data that came from Jeffrey Epstein's personal email account reveals a totally different reality. There was a front-facing side that was acceptable, like Victoria's Secret and the stuff in the background. He had the opportunity in an acceptable society and immoral society. I think Victoria's Secret was used to promote young girl women as desirable, pretty gross. I mean, it's the fashion industry, because the fashion industry definitely is in a gray area with like what Jeffrey Epstein was doing that we consider to be immoral. They do it with regular frequency. That is the reason why he was able to work within the confines of the fashion industry with ease, because because most people saw it as like, oh, it's the same thing that people are doing. It's just more of that. It's basically like a lighter version of sex trafficking, right?
Disturbing photos raise even more questions about Epstein and his relationship with some of the most powerful men in the world. We will not rest until the American people get the truth. The Department of Justice must release all the files now. I think it is worth, again, reminding people that these are not the Epstein files, so to speak, that we've been talking so much about in recent months, following a decision by the House of Representatives and subsequently the Senate, and then the signature of the President himself.
Senate.
Those files, some 300 gigabytes of them, will be released in due course. But right now we are receiving just some documents from the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee, documents which we would expect to feature in the overall files, but they are striking. 19 photographs, 3 of them photographs of the current President of the United States.
David, as you rightly point out, these are not the files, but Donald Trump did say in advance of returning to the White House that he would release the files, and the Democrats are trying to push him to do just that, but as yet, that hasn't happened.
Yes, again, I think it's worth reminding people why the Epstein files have become such an issue. During the election campaign, Donald Trump repeatedly pledged that he would release these documents. Once elected, his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, said they were on her desk and ready to go. She then released a small amount of material and said there was no list of Epstein clients. And that fueled, I think, further conspiracy of cover-up. They had really lit a fire that they were unable to put out. Republican Congressman Thomas Massey then raised his head above the parapet. He tabled a bill to release all the files, and 3 other Republicans supported him. You will remember that one of them was Donald Trump's longtime ally, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and that really developed into quite a split in the MAGA base. So under pressure at that point, Donald Trump did a U-turn, and he urged Republicans to vote for the bill to release all the files.
It's just like, I think if the Trump admin or the Trump campaign in general hadn't leaned so heavily into like the pedophilia conspiracies and stuff, which is like, some of which is a conspiracy, some of which clearly is not a conspiracy theory and just like a real thing that was taking place. But if they hadn't leaned into like QAnon so aggressively, if they hadn't kept up with like the latest and greatest in that realm, I don't think this would be as consequential for them. But because they did, obviously because they like consistently offered their base, their most loyal fans, red meat over and over again, this is something that they are going to continue demanding. This is a promise that you made and a promise that you're not keeping. And it's quite weird. It's quite strange. If you are known for promises made, promises kept, people are just going to turn around and be like, why aren't you keeping this promise? And they're going to start assuming that the reason why you're not keeping this promise is because you yourself are deeply implicated.
And all but one Republican on the Hill did just that. And since then, we've been waiting for the Epstein files to be released. As I say, there are hundreds of thousands of pages, digital records and other media related to criminal investigations into Jeffrey Epstein. The Epstein files, that's really material that has been collected by law enforcement, primarily the FBI and the Department of Justice. And according to the Department of Justice, the archive includes over 300 gigabytes of data and physical evidence. So really, the material that has dropped this morning is literally a drop in the ocean. And 95,000 images. The Democrats on the Oversight Committee say they have received images, including one you're looking at of the former President of the United States, Bill Clinton, alongside Jeffrey Epstein and his girlfriend and co-accused Ghislaine Maxwell. Between those two men, there is also pictures, as we've seen, of the current President, Donald Trump, a picture of his former advisor, Steve Bannon, and one, we understand, of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor.
I will never forgive the Democrats for leaning into defending Bill Clinton instead of just like dumping boatloads of this data, or at least like leaning into the suspicion that, Jeffrey Epstein was deeply tied to Donald Trump during the election. Okay. It's just so, nope. They had to defend Bill Clinton. Okay. So they couldn't touch the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. They had to protect Israel. They had to protect Bill Clinton. They couldn't touch the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. And now that they are out of power, they can chirp about it nonstop.
Again, I'm going to stress that just being pictured with Jeffrey Epstein or having your picture released by the Oversight Committee or members of that committee does not indicate wrongdoing. NBC, our colleagues in the United States, have reached out to each of these people for comment, but they have previously denied any wrongdoing and any knowledge of Epstein's crimes.
David, they've only released 19. We're showing a handful of them now. Clearly, some people's identities have been protected in these photos, others not. We're looking at that one of Steve Bannon with Jeffrey Epstein now. But 95,000 to work through. Are they working through these and holding them back because of decency or privacy issues? What would be the reasons for not releasing more?
Also, look at this one, dude. This dude is straight up in the cut, producing movies alongside Woody Allen. If we didn't already know enough about Woody Allen's background and how strange of a person he is, this would come as a surprise, but just fork found in the kitchen, I guess, at this point.
This point in time.
Legal reasons and political reasons. There has been a legal change just in the last couple of days in that judges have ruled, for example, that material which had previously been sealed could be unsealed. That was grand jury material relating to prosecution.
Bro, even Cheryl Hines, dude? RFK Jr.'s now wife? Every single person, dude. What is going on?
Of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, for anyone who is
That's not Cheryl, it's a Victoria's Secret model? Oh, really?
Familiar with the judicial process in the United
My
States,
bad.
Material goes to a grand jury, and it is...
How can you tell that Cheryl? That could be any white woman on the planet. I mean, chatters are correcting me. I thought it was her. It does look like her.
They who decide if there is enough ground to proceed with a prosecution. That grand jury material has been unsealed.
Look at Steve Bannon again. Alex Jones was right. Every person in power is a reptilian pedophile. Yeah, except Alex Jones now, at the peak of his career, he should be the one who's like going, see, I told you so, over and over again. Okay? Whether it be shit that he said about Israel, whether it be stuff that he said about like reptilian, pedophilic, vampire style societal elites, has now, like, this is his moment, okay? It's like if I, at the tail end of my career, finally, we have like a proletarian revolution, a dictatorship of the proletariat is implemented. And I'm over here being like, actually, this was a horrible idea. This was so bad. No, it's not. You don't want this. Actually, meritocracy is real. And the wealthy people need to continue consolidating wealth and power at the top. The working poor don't know how to control themselves. This is Alex Jones's moment. He made his entire career off of talking about pedophilic vampires. And now that it is in the forefront, where the average person also kind of recognizes that there's this like pedophilic elite conspiracy, He has to sit around and, because he's Daddy Trump's biggest booster, he has to sit around and be like, oh, actually, this is not real. I mean, it's kind of real, but like it's not real at all, actually. Donald Trump's not implicated, and you should look the other way. You should look at different things. And of course, that is a part of the reason why Candace Owens is popping off, because she has no reason to defend Donald Trump. She is truly independent in that sense. And if you are a full-blown grifter, you can take up that space that Alex Jones would normally have, the space that Alex Jones should be occupying in this moment as the number one conspiracy theorist. It's crazy.
In relation to both Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. So legally there had been a delay, but I think that will lead to the release of some more documents in due course. And then politically, there have been hurdles to overcome as well, because this had to be brought about through a bill on Capitol Hill, which was ironically brought by a Republican, Thomas Massey. He was the person who tabled the Epstein Transparency Act. He had all of the Democrats on board, obviously, but the pivotal moment came when 3 other Republicans...
Like, people forget Alex Jones literally on the morning of 9/11 was like, this is Israel. Israel did this, okay? The morning of 9/11, while it was still happening, he was like, Israel did this. I can't believe Israel did this. He was anti-George W. Bush. And then Obama one-shotted him, okay? And then Donald Trump basically brought him in to, like, acceptability by really pushing the boundaries. Donald Trump actually, when he was running for president, went on Alex Jones' show on InfoWars. A lot of people forget, back in 2016. And then he won. And then Alex Jones was seen as like a normal, I guess, somewhat of a normal part of the, at least for the right, somewhat of a normal part of the commentariat. And now Alex Jones is basically defending the Trump administration and trying to get people to look away from the Epstein stuff to the best of his ability. Or he's trying to manage. He's trying to do cleanup with what remains of his credibility in the conspiracy world. The last remaining shred of credibility that he has in the conspiracy world, he's basically using to defend Donald Trump.
Republicans crossed the aisle, so to speak, and voted with him.
Sweeping for him.
That pushed the bill through, and you may remember, remarkably, it was swiftly rubber-stamped by the Senate without even a debate and landed quickly on the desk of Donald Trump, who is himself now pictured in 3 of these pictures, which have been...
Yeah, here's Alex Jones one day after 9/11, not the day of 9/11.
I don't support the Palestinians either. They're all hyped up and psychotic. But Israel's going to get us nuked, always backing them up like this. Israel calls the Palestinians goyim or cattle or dogs or subhuman. They keep them on concentration camps. I got video of them taking Palestinian women's tomatoes they grow and breaking their water containers and stealing. That's why you have...
Remember, the greatest conspiracy theorist will always use kernels of truth, especially extra points if it's like a truth that you're not allowed to say, okay? Or a truth that you don't actually encounter in mainstream, in the mainstream at all, okay? That's it. That is the most effective way to be a conspiracy theorist. That's why Candace Owens will talk about like MK Ultra and all these other like different things that the CIA has done. That's why Candace Owens is so popular right now, because when we watched her commentary yesterday when she was talking about like Bari Weiss, she's like, Bari Weiss is basically an agent of Israel. And that is the reason why she got a job at CBS News as the editor-in-chief. This is not far-fetched at all. It's just like she's saying something that is objective reality that you can see if you read if you read beyond the bylines and you read beyond the headlines in a lot of these articles, because the media will cover it and they will say like, oh, Bari Weiss is actually, or Larry Ellison or David Ellison is purchasing CBS News, and the only reason why it was sold is because like the Redstone family finally said that like, post October 7, they couldn't deal with how anti-Semitic CBS News coverage was, blah, blah, blah, all this stuff. And that's the reason why Bari Weiss of the free press was brought in to do editorial control to, change the direction of CBS News to be more right-wing and to be more pro-Israel, right? So when Candace Owens says that, it comes across like it's a conspiracy theory, but it's not. It's just the truth. And then she also packages that up with a whole bunch of other nonsensical bullshit, but it doesn't matter. That statement in and of itself makes people believe in her because they're like, well, this is something that I can see with my own two eyes and no one else is talking about it, so you must be like a truth teller, right? Or when she turns around and says, like, Barry Weiss is a great example of someone who is an abject failure, uncharismatic, and is only in a position of power because she sucks up to billionaires and millionaires.
This crap, and our children are going to die. We're going to get nuked because of this. Iran's got the nukes now. Syria. We're going to have nuclear war because Israel likes to go around bombing everybody. I'm sorry, it's just the facts. And Israel absolutely is beside itself with joy right now. They are talking about how they're going to blow everything up, how they're going to attack everybody, and guess who's going to get bombed because of it? I have been supportive of Israel for many years. When I found out what they do, shooting little Palestinian children in the genitalia and laughing, it's on video. Little 10-year-olds walk around throwing rocks at tanks. A guy sits off a half mile away and blows their testicles off. They call them goyim. They call them dogs. They call the Arabs cattle. And then the corrupt Arab governments that are in league with this government, it's really a sick Hegelian dialectic, order out of chaos, bringing the world crises, bringing them terrorism, so we'll accept a highly dictatorial police state regime.
Yeah, OG, dude, there's a reason why I'm such a big Alex Jones fan in general, okay? Even with his newer version of Alex Jones, he's like still a very entertaining figure. It's just that like there is a reason why Alex Jones was seen as like a very unique part of American political discourse and was in Scanner Darkly and was in all these other movies, like playing a version of himself, right? Like he's a fascinating character. Oh yeah, Waking Life. Yeah, he was in Scanner Darkly. He was in Waking Life. Yeah, a known figure in the Austin community for years and years. He was always like the anti-establishment conspiracy theorist. Some of the things that he would say came out to be true, mass surveillance by the government, and then he would package that up with a whole bunch of insane shit, right? Like interdimensional space vampires or whatever the fuck. He connects the dots in all the wrong ways and actually makes it harder to see reality. Yeah. Anytime he comes near, anytime he would get close to like unearthing a unspoken truth, he would just quickly snap it into like a totally separate direction, totally insane direction, which is part of the reason why I would always say, like, I think he's a government agent. If Alex Jones is not a government agent, then the government would create someone exactly like Alex Jones, because he so perfectly would belittle. He would so perfectly belittle like all of these things as like silly conspiracy theories. Richard Linklater said he was just a funny random kook. Didn't think he was harmful at the time, but definitely picked up on his charisma. Yeah. But it's that same Alex Jones that would also say, like, there's a lot of pedophiles, the pedophilic elite, they're doing sex rituals and they're doing sacrifice. And now, in this very moment, that's in the forefront. Like, that's something that people are seeing with their own two eyes. And Alex Jones is nowhere to be seen. In the moments where he does talk about this shit, he spends most of the time talking about how the current president is actually fighting the deep state still. The current president, Donald Trump, who's my friend, is fighting the deep state. He's a white hat pedophile. Kimi kızdırdıysan artık buradaki forumlarda bile 2 aydır falan linç kampanyasını yürütüyorlar. Oğlum siktir et, ne olacak amına koyayım. Yani ne yapayım? Yürüsünler. İsrail. Kimi kızdırdım diye soruyorsan. Cevap İsrail. Okay? Oh, he did a 28-minute video.
Let's get
Breaking. Democrats launch massive Trump Epstein hoax by editing already public photos to make the president appear guilty. Alex Jones breaks down how images released are designed to implicate criminal behavior with no proof and use innuendo to wrap public perception. See, like that's what he's doing. Boş ver abi, İngiliz uşakları onlar. Aynen öyle. The new Taylor Swift documentary mentioned Israel and people are mad.
We've been here for like 4 or 5 hours. We've spoken to people from like Scotland and England and Israel. I feel like what's happening right now.
That's not even like a big mention. What the fuck? The Israel mention, not even 30 minutes into the documentary, felt intentional to say the least. Taylor Swift, can we be so serious right now, girl? What the fuck are we doing? I'm no way defending, but you're in these comments saying you need to watch Zootopia, and that's why you have Disney Plus when the actress who plays Judy Hobbs, the heavy Zionist. No, that's completely fair. I can't stand her, but the movies and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I think Stan Twitter is going maybe a little nutty over this, like, but that's, cool, I guess. Whatever. This is literally Zionist propaganda. What the? Anyway, free Palestine, fuck Israel, and fuck Taylor Swift too. God damn. 135K likes and another one. You're not powerful if you don't use your voice for the greater good. You're a narcissist when everything is about you and your career. Being silent equals cowardice and complacency. Forbes names Taylor Swift the most powerful female artist in the world. 135,000 likes. Y'all are mad because Taylor has fans globally in every country, calling Israel a country. Hashtag I know what you are. It's so funny because most famously, the story of Taylor Swift in Israel before all the stuff literally was that a Swiftie with a very famous Taylor Swift account was inactive for months. And then she came out and said, hey guys, sorry for being inactive on the Taylor Swift updates account. I was in prison. And then people said, I got arrested. And people said, why did you get arrested? And she said, I refused to serve in the IDF. So the most famous like Swiftie in Israel was unironically an anti-Zionist conscientious objector. So it's kind of crazy that Taylor Swift cannot outflank her fans on this issue. Not lying, I think about her once a week. No, she's dope. She's amazing. Yeah, update is most of you know I haven't been very active in the past couple of months because I was in prison. I'm back now, though. More Taylor Swift updates coming soon. OMG, why? I refuse to join the IDF, Lamau. Yeah. From the 2nd of April, 2019. This Taylor Swift stan took a stand in solidarity with Palestinians. Today, 2 years ago, the 19-year-old Israeli girl behind Legit Tay Updates was released from prison, account suspended now, by the way, after refusing to join the Israeli military. During her 2-month sentence, she still gave updates from the inside. Update, I'm still in prison, Lamau, but I asked a visiting friend to post this. Can y'all stop making comments on Taylor's body? She'll let us know when/if she's pregnant. Calm down. I love that Israelis with bare minimum moral compass are touted as heroes while the actual resistance remains consistently demonized even by leftist condom hummus. Okay, but why are you bringing that up in here when I'm called a terrorist every single day, and still to this day, people say I'm a deeply anti-Semitic terrorist because I don't do that, okay? I do both. I understand that every person plays a different role in this process. So I don't know why you're coming in here and doing it to me when I'm trying to do my very best to destigmatize resisting militarily against a apartheid state that's conducting a goddamn genocide. Okay? You're not wrong with the overall point, though. You're not wrong about the overall point, but this also kind of feels like you're minimizing the impact of people who are conscientious objectors doing the very most they can do within their own personal development. Like, it's not like they asked to be born in Israel. You know, what are you supposed to do? They're doing the best, more than many others do, right? So I'm never gonna shit on them. I don't do that. I don't play that game at all. Like, I'm not gonna yell at a person who literally went to prison. I am going to celebrate that. Okay. Yeah, especially when like there are a shit ton of people who, I mean, this person was doing this in 2019, right? Like there are a lot of people who just found out about Israel, right? Yeah. Nobody saying yell at them is part of doing commentary. I'm adding a supplementary point. I think a better way to the better way to do that is not by saying Israelis with bare minimum moral compass, because you aren't just saying, you know, you are kind of saying that these are people who are doing like, you know, the bare minimum. It's crazy. You're undercutting it, you know, a little bit. But it's kind of funny because like if you ask Palestinians living in Gaza how they feel about conscientious objectors, they are infinitely more excited. Not even at the prospect that there are conscientious objectors, but also they're more stoked about people who even like will go to the West Bank and try to make sure that people can actually engage in like olive harvest and things like that. They, you know, that's a huge thing. Yeah, people tweeting is the bare minimum. People writing in my chat is the bare minimum. What we're doing is the bare minimum. Going to prison is, I don't think, the bare minimum. Anyway, where were we? I think more so about the general population looking at these objectors in a more nuanced way than say Hamas or a PFLP militant fighting back. Yeah, if your smoke is for like the general attitude, even of woke people, because I'll give you the maximum like woke pro-resistance take that still actually doesn't meet the standard. There are people out there who will say, oh, well, I don't like Hamas because it's an Islamist resistance group. I like the PFLP. Okay, well, the PFLP likes Hamas. You know? The are you going to do about it now? Like, oh, I'm a socialist, so I only defend the PFLP and DFLP. Okay. Well, the PFLP and DFLP worked under the banner of Hamas on the Al-Aqsa flood operation. So what do you have to say about that? There is no reason to do purity tests in a situation when we're talking about people breaking out of a ghetto. You know, there's no ideological purity. The highest priority is emancipation. You can have the political disagreements after. That comes after the fact. That's why no matter what, unless someone is literally a direct collaborator with the apartheid state, whether it's the PA or whether it's like people who work for American think tanks and are actively cutting anti-resistance propaganda, almost every single Palestinian is united on the first goal of the abolition of the apartheid. You know? Anyway. Yeah, like how in China, the KMT and the communists had a temporary alliance in order to fight the Japanese. Exactly. When you are being dominated by a imperial superpower or an imperial regional power or a ethno-state that is maintaining an apartheid, your highest priority is the end to that occupation and apartheid.
Been released by the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee.
Anyway,
so
let's get back. I don't know how we fucking got to Palestine and the Palestinian resistance here, but
ways the legal hurdles, the political hurdles are being overcome, the barriers are falling, and over the course of time we are seeing more and more material. And while these are not the Epstein files that we've been waiting for, this is the kind of material that you're going to see when those Epstein files come in full in due course.
So, and as you've stressed, and I'm going to stress again, being in a photo with someone doesn't imply any sort of wrongdoing. You may just brush up near them at a party and a photo is taken. You may meet them in an office like we've just seen, and there may be more to it. We don't know, and none of this implies any wrongdoing. But David, let's just set some of the context on this. I mean, when he came to the White House...
Is Alan Dershowitz in any of these photos? Of course he is, dude. What do you mean?
Donald Trump often talked about draining the swamp, the implication being he was an outsider to the swamp, the milieu, the people who ran Washington. And what this does show is how broad and powerful Jeffrey Epstein's network was. And it went across party lines. He's pictured with Trump. He's pictured with Bill Clinton.
I'm going to keep it a buck. I think it shows something else as well. It doesn't just show how vast and powerful his network was. I think it also shows how those powerful people just kept coming back. Why is it? Why is it that these guys were just so chummy with a international sex trafficker of children? Strange. You know, it's not like it wasn't usually like a one and done.
And he's pictured with plenty of famous, powerful people. The network he had and the power was huge.
Yes, and to some extent, the conspiracy around
dog,
all of
please.
this was a conspiracy that was peddled.
Brother, are you okay? I like that we went from accusations to like, I actually am invested in this. Like, can you please do this thing? It's insane, dude.
By Donald Trump himself in the course of the election campaign, when he repeatedly stated that he would release the Epstein files if he was re-elected president of the United States. But the moment he found himself back in the White House, the trouble began to arise because his attorney general...
Woody Allen is ruined. Yeah, no. I'm new to Woody Allen's background. I was just a fan of his movies. I had no idea that he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein. Woody Allen is the one guy that's the most like fork found in the kitchen moment here. It's like if Jeffrey Epstein was in France and he was photographed next to Roman Polanski. I don't think anyone would be shocked by that revelation. You know what I mean?
Pam Bondi said the files were on her desk and ready to go, but then never released the material that people expected to see at that stage. And all of that poured petrol on the fire. It fueled further conspiracy theories around the Epstein files. And that is what pushed it to the point where some Republicans on Capitol Hill were joining forces with Democrats to force through a vote demanding the release of the files in full. The Democrats have decided that they are going to some extent drip feed the material to us. They've been doing that in recent months. And these 19 pictures released today, selected from, we are told...
Bet Quentin Tarantino's in the files? No, Quentin Tarantino became like an ultra-Zionist too late to the game, I think, for him to have encountered and become friendly with Jeffrey Epstein. That's like, I mean, he was always like a freak, right? But not a freak of that sort as far as we know, right? He's just, Quentin Tarantino became pro-Israel after, I think like probably after Jeffrey Epstein was already imprisoned the second time. He did defend Polanski though, so, right? He absolutely is. Look up he did. He did defend, here it is. Quentin Tarantino revealed that he and his wife, Daniela Pick, are fully committed to Israel and consider the country their permanent home. The couple has spent the last several years living there and say they have no plans to return to the U.S., emphasizing that their current lifestyle reflects their values and long-term choices, expanding that their connection to Israel isn't temporary but deeply rooted. Not great. And then there was also the Polanski quote, no? Wasn't there a Polanski quote as well where he was like saying that, saying that the 13-year-old that Roman Polanski raped was a... Oh, this is from Howard Stern.
I've been dying to get a hold of you for this reason. When Gary Garver, our reporter out in Hollywood, interviewed you, here's what you said. I got to ask you about this. Okay. This I don't understand. Your movie I understand. This I don't. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Hey, Quentin, how you doing, man?
Hey.
How's it going, man?
Pretty good.
Nice to meet you. What have you done to make the world a better place?
I don't know. What do you think I've done?
Cool movies.
Oh, well, I'll stand with that.
Pulp Fiction's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, were you happy when Roman Polanski won the Oscar?
Yeah, that was pretty cool, actually, yeah.
What's so great about a rapist being the recipient of Hollywood's highest honor?
I don't consider him a rapist.
Right, that's the one. How can you defend See, I don't understand this. How come Hollywood embraces this madman, this director who raped a 13-year-old?
He didn't rape a 13-year-old. It was statutory rape.
Yeah, all right.
Well, that's not quite the same thing. All right?
Come on.
Enough said.
It's not statutory rape. You know, he had sex with a minor. All right, that's not rape. To me, when you use the word rape, all right, you're talking about violent, throwing him down. It's like one of the most violent.
No, it's just no consent. And considering that 13-year-olds cannot consent, that's the reason why it's considered rape. Can't believe this guy is living out his days. Here he is with the IDF. Breaking: legendary filmmaker Quentin Tarantino visits an Israeli base in southern Israel to boost IDF morale. Dude. Israel is so evil that their morale is boosted by seeing Quentin Tarantino. It's like the more evil you are, the more of a morale boost it is for the IDF. He's like, oh yeah, I can't wait. This is gonna make it much more enjoyable to go and murder some children now. Thank you, Mr. Quentin Tarantino. I'm a 19-year-old brigadier general, and seeing Quentin Tarantino at my base has really boosted my morale. Dude, when Howard Stern, moral high ground, you're insane. Yeah, and I think that was like back in the day when Howard Stern was still crazy, right? Because now he's like very woke. I mean, he's still like, you know, a liberal and shit, but and annoying about like he's like an anti-Bernie liberal. He was like super pro Hillary Clinton. He's become that kind of liberal. But this is back when Howard Stern was still crazy. We snuck controversial art into a famous art show. No, he used to be. Howard Stern used to be anti-Bernie. I don't know if he still is, but he used to be anti-Bernie. He was pro. Dude, come on, don't question me on this. He was super pro Hillary and hated Bernie for spoiling Hillary Clinton's chances. Like, he was that kind of lib. Oh my God, we've moved so far beyond Jeffrey Epstein. Let's get back to it.
95,000 images they've received from the Epstein estate are part of that.
Yeah, seeing a picture of Bill Gates, the wealthy Microsoft founder, with the now named Andrew Mountbatten Windsor on the screen as well. And plenty of these pictures feature Jeffrey Epstein too. If you're just joining us, just going to reiterate this breaking news that the Democrats on the Oversight Committee of Government Reform in the US say they have now got 95,000 photos, including images of the wealthy and powerful men who spent time with Jeffrey Epstein, and they've released 19 of them, which we're showing you on the screen
70 new
right now.
photos were dropped.
As David Levins, who's still with me, has been stressing, these are not the Epstein files, but these are photos that give
Link temporarily
insight to the connections, the network that Jeffrey Epstein had. And of course, being in a photo with anybody doesn't any sort of wrongdoing, just a photo with someone. But nevertheless,
dude, Noam Chomsky. Oh my Lord, dude. Oh my Lord, Noam Chomsky. What a spectacular whiplash-inducing fall from fucking grace. I mean, sure, like, you can have your disagreements with Noam Chomsky. I have mine. But this is so far beyond the pale, dude. Oh my Lord. Just ridiculous. That's recent too, isn't it? Yeah, no, he was homies, man. He was straight up homies with Jeffrey Epstein. Like, when we found out, when there was suspicion that Noam Chomsky had a deeper relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, because he had actually like spent time when he was in France, like being around Jeffrey Epstein's like butler or something, that was already insane, right? But this latest tranche of images and the email back and forth correspondence between Jeffrey Epstein and Noam Chomsky has revealed that their ties, they were like this, dude. They were two peas in a pod, a libertarian pod, if you will. Why are your lights flickering? It just looks like they are. Yeah, 2 pedos in a pod, maybe. Bannon is so cooked. He's all over this shit. No, man. Bannon is a human skin tag. It doesn't even matter for some reason. He's all over everything. It's so crazy that, like, it's so... Dude. Steve Bannon has done everything, okay? Like, ideologically, with Noam Chomsky as well. Now, he has been photographed and collaborated with literally every type of ideology, I think. Like, remember, he was supposed to be in prison because he got caught. I think when they arrested him, when the U.S. Postal Service agents arrested him, he was on a private yacht with, like, a Chinese billionaire dissident anti-CPC guy, because he had done like a scheme, right? I think it was he had collaborated with a quadriplegic veteran to do a scheme to farm donations, to farm donations for building the wall. They were doing like a GoFundMe. Postal guys can arrest people? Yes, they don't f around, dude. Yeah, they did a build the wall initiative where they got like all of these stupid right-wing boomer racists to be like, we'll build the wall ourselves. And then they just did like, I guess they did like mail fraud or something. I don't know. But yeah, the U.S. postal inspectors are not just delivery people. Like there's U.S. Postal Service cops. One of the oldest versions of federal, what you would consider federal law enforcement. Anyway. Yeah, Trump is now running an astounding, even for him, 90 minutes late for his scheduled 3 p.m. bill signing event. I wonder why he's being camera shy today.
David, as we've been spelling out.
I will say, tactically, releasing information like this right before he goes live is actually awesome. Okay? Tactically releasing more Epstein connections to Donald Trump right before he goes live is a incredible move by the Democrats. They normally suck, but this is one of those instances where they're actually popping off.
Here, it does show the connection, the breadth of Jeffrey Epstein's network. And also we've seen others in there as well. Ghislaine Maxwell, of course,
yeah, also,
who is
on
currently
the other
incarcerated.
Side, yeah, on the other side, you have the low-level Jeffrey Epstein, Andrew Tate, offering dating advice to Barron Trump. Okay? I was going to talk about this as well. A new report from the New York Times reveals that the Trump administration and some members of the president's family may have been involved in a larger movement in conservative circles to support Andrew and Tristan Tate, right-wing influencers charged with rape, human trafficking, and other crimes. You know? Like father, like son, I guess. New York Times did a huge investigation into this. I'm going to be talking about that as well. But, you know, that's another thing.
In the
Barron Chad Vice now is on. No, dude, Barron is a Aiden Ross fan and an Andrew Tate fan.
US,
he's cooked
as well.
And Matt, let me just tell you that we've now received a statement from the House Oversight Committee. They are not always terribly impressed, it has to be said, when Democratic members of the committee release this material. This is what the statement says. Once again, Ranking Member Robert Garcia and Oversight Committee Democrats are cherry-picking photos and making targeted redactions to create a false narrative around President Trump. We received over 95,000 photos and Democrats released just a handful. Democrats' hoax against President Trump has been complete.
Yeah, but they also released a Bill Clinton photo too. So what of it? Release them all then. You know? Let's see it. Let's see the truth. Let the photos do the talking. You know? If you don't want a one-sided revelation, a one-sided release of photos, then release them all. Don't threaten me with a good time here. This is some of the crazier photos I've seen from his house. Another one of these dentist chairs. He had dentist chairs all over the house. I don't know why. It's just so freaky. And these like masks on the walls. I'm browsing through them and I'll show you. Oh, here's an even crazier image of all the masks. Yeah, I know there's like sex toys in some of the images, and this is the new one that they just just dropped, and I'm going through them. It's just like it don't make no sense, dude. It's out here looking like a real eyes wide shut moment, okay? As a gaming fan, I feel like I should tell you I caught up on every dispatch VOD in the last 3 days so I could watch the Finale stream live, so you better not debate us. Yeah, I won't. Don't worry. Clip from CNN.
Do you have pictures of people engaged in sexual acts as part of this?
As part of this release, yes, there are pictures of people engaged in sexual acts.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
Are there pictures of men, not Jeffrey Epstein, engaged in such acts?
We're going through that. Again, the last time there was a big production, what we tried to do was release all the files eventually. We're trying to be selective about what we release now. And so in this case, we're not really quite sure yet who is who. Certainly, there's a lot of people. Truth nuke. People involved, though, in some of these acts.
Okay, I'm almost sorry I asked. Point on that. Do you have
little Stevens Hawking about to get revealed? I don't know. It could be any number of different people. That's the craziest part. It's probably most likely it's got to be like Prince Andrews, you know? I feel like he was the most connected. He was the one who was always constantly getting photographed and shit. So who knows? He beating around the bush, so you know who's in some of them. Probably maybe Bill Clinton. I don't know. It is pretty. This is a crazy day, man.
Completely debunked. They say.
By the way, pour one out for the pro-Trump guys. Okay, they're probably not having a good time today. You know. Shouts out to Asmongold. He's probably, this is going to be quite difficult to hit a yeah based over, Yeah, based. I don't know what kind of talking points you need to download to make this make sense to a pliant audience here. I guess what will happen in this situation is they just have to hit the pedophilia is actually good route, right? Like, biggest story of the day. Nah, pedophilia is in. They don't care. Only if there's pics of Trump being gay. Yeah.
Nothing in the documents we've received shows any wrongdoing. It is shameful. Representative Garcia and Democrats continue to put politics above justice for the survivors. So very strong words from the Oversight Committee. They are not impressed that the Democrats have chosen to release at this point 19 of the 95,000 images they've received from the estate of the late Jeffrey Epstein. Among those 19 pictures, 3 of the President of the United States, Donald Trump, though we know there is one of the former president, at least one of the former president, Bill Clinton. There are others featured there too, but I'm going to state what we've been stating repeatedly, just appearing in a picture that's been released from these documents is no indication of wrongdoing, and these people have repeatedly stated that they had no knowledge of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes.
Maybe actually it's a phobophilia route. That could be one route.
Key figure in the Trump administration's
some along those lines. Here, let's see what CNN is saying, because there's like new stuff coming out right now. Ezra Klein tomorrow coming out saying Donald Trump did pedophilia the right way. No, that was the funniest Ezra Klein take, when he just went out for no reason and was like, do I think Jeffrey Epstein is a pedophile? Yes. Do I think that he had a lot of famous and wealthy friends in financial elite, in the financial elite? Yes. I think those two things were totally separate from one another. One of his greatest takes of all time, okay? It's right up there, is right up there with Charlie Kirk was doing politics the right way. Because it's one of those things where it's like, you have no reason to say this, okay? There is no reason for you to come out and try to hit a Jeffrey Epstein's pedophilia centrism line, okay? But he still did it. He still did it. There's just something about the mind of liberals that where they just have to be like, the reasonable position is always in the middle, okay? I will find a way to just make everybody upset. I will always find a way to, oh, this is the massage therapy system that he had, I guess. And this is the famous, now famous photo of him in the bathtub looking real freak-like. You think they'll try to blame the pics on AI? I'm terrified of that excuse being weaponized. I mean, it seems like they're talking about the top armed services dem on his meeting with the admiral in charge of the double tap bow strike on CNN. Let's see what Fox News is talking about. Probably anything but this. And we are currently waiting on Trump to go live. He was supposed to be live an hour and 30 minutes ago. So do you think they'll reveal photos of his egg-shaped penis? I hope not. I don't know how to answer that. Yeah, he had like some sex toys. These are PG-13 enough to show, I guess. They're not like, it's a weird way to describe it, but you know what I mean. Like, it's not the jawbreaker gag, terms and conditions, disclaimer, warranty. And then a bunch of, I'm not going to show you what the other ones are. Here's a photo of Jeffrey Epstein with a book cover of his own face. He's holding it up. A photo of a Trumpkin for some reason. Don't know what was going on there. The dilly glove is insane. Yeah, I skipped through some of the sex toys that he also had. Here's a photo of the weird, freaky island temple thing that they're building, apparently. Like while they were building, it seems like a 3D rendered image almost from this angle, but I don't know what's going on there. There was a photo of Trump condoms that came out in the last one too. Here's an up close and personal shot. Trigger warning. Don't know who this guy is. Is this Shanghai? No. Is it Dubai, maybe? I don't know. It's the Dubai Marina. He was very connected with the UAE. He did have a Saudi passport, for those of you who don't know. Here's that photo of him talking to Steve Bannon. I don't know why there's comments on some of these photos. The photo of the Trump condom. Larry Summers, Richard Branson. Hold on. Woody Allen photos. More photos from his house. The images that have like censor bars over their faces obviously are like some of the victims and unaffiliated people. I think, is that Bill Gates? Is that a frame photo of Bill Gates in Lolita Express? And it also looks like that was taken. It looks like that photo was taken far before. It looks like that photo was taken far before the last time we knew, or the only time we knew Bill Gates had actually hung out with Jeffrey Epstein. So that's interesting as well. Hold on, I'm going to open it in a new tab and zoom in. That's definitely Billy Boy. And no, he's not wearing a dentist outfit. He's wearing a sweater vest over his button-up. Boomers committing crimes is so awesome because they cannot resist taking pictures of everything. Zero OPSEC. I mean, honestly, this is a unique situation because I think the whole point of Jeffrey Epstein was to photograph these people. You know, here's another photo of Billy Boy again, this time with Prince Andrew in a more recent pic of him. And then, of course, some of y'all's faves are also getting implicated. Here is Steve Bannon and a more recent Noam Chomsky, as a matter of fact. Maybe not as recent as, like, I don't think he's capable of traveling any longer, but looking real chummy with the fascist Steve Bannon. Another photo of Billy. Another photo of Billy with a pilot on what I assume is either his own private jet or Jeffrey Epstein, one of Jeffrey Epstein's charter jets. And then, of course, we saw this one already. They took a fit pic together. Steve Bannon and Jeffrey did. And then the classic. Of course, you're going to see rare Alan Dershowitz in ways that you've never seen him before, I guess. Steve Bannon with Woody Allen. Another, I don't know who this guy is again. I think this might be the Dubai guy that he's like super connected with. And no, I don't think that's Hot Pot. I think that might be Shisha. More Donald Trump. Bill Clinton. Seemingly signed by Bill Clinton. And who could forget? Ehud fucking Barak, dude. Of course. Of course. You had to get one of the besties in there, you know? He would have felt left out. All these photos coming out. Master of disguise, Ehud Barak, former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak. There are pics he had in his house and things. Yeah, so this was the, I think that was the second tranche, but maybe not. The Dubai man is Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, CEO of Middle East logistics giant DP World. Emirati CEO asked Jeffrey Epstein for Elon Musk connection. 2 years before hosting a meeting with Elon Musk in Dubai, Emirati logistics CEO Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem asked Jeffrey Epstein to connect him with the Tesla head. New released emails show it's not the only time Musk has come up in the Epstein files. Dear Jeffrey, I'm building 2 hotels in Dubai. One is Duke's Dubai. The other is a Maldives-style 60-room beach hotel at one of my world's islands. Duke's Dubai should be open in December this year, while the Island Hotel might open September 2016. I recently read that Tesla is producing home battery to store solar energy. Both hotels have access to city power grid, so it would be ideal to use solar and keep city grid as a backup. I would like to discuss with them utilizing Tesla battery to provide 100% power for my hotel. I would be the first to use their battery on a large scale. Can you put me in touch with Elon Musk or ask him to refer me to someone at his company so we can discuss? Yours, Sultan. Listen, they might be pedophiles, but they're at least green. Okay? They're eco-friendly pedophiles. Think about that. I'm a harm reduction voter. Would you rather have them be invested in the oil and gas industry and do pedophilia? Yeah, your Sultan is a pretty wild way to end an email. Yeah, he was a woke sultan. The details of Sulayem's email come several months after House Democrats released Epstein's daily schedules, which included December 6, 2014 note stating, reminder, Elon Musk to Island, December 6th. Is this still happening? In response, Musk claimed that he refused the invitation and that he had never visited Epstein's Little St. James Island, where Epstein allegedly brought young women, including some who appeared to be preteen. Sultan is his name, not a title. Oh, okay. I thought his name wasn't Sultan. I thought it was Ahmed, but I mean, I don't know. Anyway, in 2019, Musk told Vanity Fair that he had visited Epstein's New York home and that Epstein repeatedly tried to get him to visit the island. Musk said he declined the invitation. It's actually, Elon Musk's connections to Jeffrey Epstein actually run deeper than Elon Musk directly because Elon Musk's brother was all over Jeffrey Epstein, as a matter of fact. It is known that Kimball Musk, Elon Musk's brother, actually was dating one of the girls that was that Jeffrey Epstein was trafficking. So, Musk has also been linked to Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's former girlfriend and co-conspirator, who played a key role in Epstein's sex trafficking scheme. According to prosecutors, in 2014, Musk and Maxwell were photographed together during a Vanity Fair Oscar party. Musk later accused Maxwell of photobombing him at the party. I wonder if anyone in Epstein's circle ever was like, hey guys, should we really be taking this many pictures? No. And the reason why they didn't say that is because they're all billionaires and millionaires. Okay? They're like sheiks and members of the royal family. Why the would they ever think that their network of pedophilia would be unearthed and that anyone would actually see even an ounce of scrutiny? That's kind of the whole point. You feel like you're untouchable. And to a certain degree, they are untouchable. They quite literally are untouchable. I mean, what has happened so far? The only person that's seen any repercussions is Prince Andrew, whose title of being prince is gone now, but that's it. That's it. And Jeffrey Epstein, of course. But it seems like he was more disposable, discardable. Anyway, for those keeping score at home, says Adam Johnson, Wall Street Journal editorial board opposes releasing the Epstein files. Washington Post editorial board opposes releasing the Epstein files. New York Times editorial board in true New York Times fashion conflicted about the release of the files. From the people who brought you the 2020 Elizabeth Warren and Amy Klobuchar co-endorsement and vote for anyone but Mamdani, wink, wink, non-endorsement endorsement of Cuomo comes, who's to say if more public transparency relating to Epstein is good or bad? Clearly, very few people would want to put their names on columns opposing the release of the Epstein files, so the editorial is the perfect forum for elite counter messaging, as it is anonymous, but still has an authoritative view from nowhere tone. It's crazy. Trump has made the Epstein saga a case study in manipulation. Basically, what they're trying to say is the public is too conspiratorial because of Donald Trump. They're trying to frame it as like an anti-Trump piece while also standing at odds with the full release of the Epstein files. Because you dumb peasants, you unwashed masses will not know how to deal with the release of all of the financial criminals that are also directly associated with the international sex trafficker who was potentially running a blackmail operation for America's #1 ally, Israel. Okay? You can't handle it. If you knew with a certainty how pedophilic our elites are, you wouldn't know what to do with that information. You'd go too crazy. Given all the conspiratorial noise about the Jeffrey Epstein story, we understand why some Americans are tempted to look away at this point. Who is like, oh man, please give us less info about Jeffrey Epstein? Even Trump's own base of support is actually pissed off at him. It's one of his worst performing. It's one of the worst performances, worst performing aspects of his presidency, aside from the economy. Okay. Because most things, Republicans are like, oh, I'm 90% invested in Donald Trump. Like they do these different polls on different policies, right? And if you ask the Republicans, it's like 90% approval on the on immigration or whatever. But when it comes down to his base, his own base, when asked the question, how do you feel about Donald Trump's performance so far on the release, non-release of Jeffrey Epstein files? They quite literally give him the worst marks. They give him the worst marks on that issue. And the reason why they give him the worst marks on that issue is because Donald Trump has quite literally tried to stop this from happening very publicly. Americans skeptical of Trump on Epstein, but Republican doubts ease, Reuters Ipsos poll finds. Most Americans believe Trump's administration is covering up Epstein information. 53% of Republicans approve of Trump's handling, up from 44% last month. That is abysmal. Anything shy of 80% is abysmal. You understand? Trending upwards doesn't change that reality. 62% believe government is hiding information about Epstein's death. 70% on trafficking. Do you understand how bad that shit is? I need you to understand something. When we look at these polls, we look at the broader polls, right? And the buyer's remorse demonstrated by people who voted for Trump usually come from the independents. Okay? It comes from the independents. So Donald Trump's approval rating is obviously underwater because the Democratic voters, the self-IDing Democrats, obviously all despise Donald Trump. That's understandable. There's regular partisanship demonstrated on these polls all the time. But when you look at the Republican approval rating on Donald Trump's performance, it's usually at 90% on a lot of the issues that he said he was going to engage in. When it comes to the economy, it's pretty bad, even amongst the Republicans. And when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, it's, as you can see, 53% approval by the Republicans. That is devastating. The poll completed on Monday found that most Americans believe Trump administration is covering up information about the late sex offender, including his 2019 death and his ties to the rich and powerful people, and do not believe Trump's claim that he was unaware of Epstein's alleged trafficking of teenage girls when the two were friends decades ago. Okay? Only 23% of Americans approve of the way Trump is handling the ongoing scandal, the poll found, while 52% disapprove. Okay? However, the poll found he appears to be easing the concerns of his supporters. 53% of Republicans said they approved of the way that he was handling the issue, up from 44% last month. That is still well below the 85% approval rating Trump enjoys overall among Republicans. You see that? So even amongst the Republicans, what the f*** is this? This is what, by the way, while all this Epstein stuff is happening, what's Fox News doing? Shea Fisher performs Jingle Bell Rock. That's awesome. It's so awesome. They're like, don't look at the photos. There's no photos. Don't worry about the photos. All right, let's see what the Arena with Cassie Hunt is covering.
This weekend, this Saturday, you can catch the Arena Saturday. It's going to be on at 8 a.m. and noon Eastern time right here on CNN. You can also stream the Arena live.
Okay, I don't care about the Arena. PBS shout out. Yes, the Piker Broadcasting Service is only going to give you the news and nothing but the news. So help me God. And it is sponsored by you, the viewers, for you, the viewers, as always. Your voluntary contributions in the form of a subscription or a free subscription in the form of a Twitch Prime is the only way you can support the Piker Broadcasting Service, the real PBS. Why are we here? Just to suffer? Yes. Also, at this point, Donald Trump is officially 2 hours late. He was supposed to be on at 12 p.m. Pacific time for a live signing ceremony. He is now officially 2 hours late. This is a new record for Donald Trump, by the way. A new record for Donald Trump. Do you think he had a heart attack and died? No. I don't think that. Listen to me, okay? Listen. Things that you may or may not want to happen will not happen, okay? It's just not saying I'm wishing that it's going to happen. Obviously, I would never. But you need to understand, okay? Evil never dies.
Photos from the estate of dead pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. The photos show powerful people
He
who were
said
in
dead
Epstein's
pedophile.
family, including former President Bill Clinton,
Legal
Steve Bannon,
heretic, thank you
Bill
for the
Gates,
50 bones.
and yes, President Donald Trump. Now, it's important to note, none of the photos showing these individuals or President Trump depict any sexual misconduct, nor are believed to depict any underage girls. It's also not immediately clear when or where these photos were taken. But let's take a look. One image shows what appears to be a bowl of condoms with a caricature of Trump's face. The bowl has a sign saying, quote, Trump condom, $4.50. And each condom has text that reads, I'm huge. Another showed Trump with 6 women whose faces were redacted by the committee. A White House spokeswoman said in a statement, in part, once again, House Democrats are selectively releasing cherry-picked photos with random redactions to try and create a false narrative. A White House official also said no documents have, quote, ever shown any wrongdoing by President Trump. Now, other released photos included Steve Bannon and Epstein taking a photograph in a mirror. Bill Clinton with Epstein, his accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell, and another couple, and tech billionaire Bill Gates with the former Prince Andrew. Now, CNN has reached out to all of those men. A spokesperson for Clinton has repeatedly said he cut ties with Epstein before his arrest on federal charges in 2019 and did not know about his crimes. A reminder, the photos released today are from the Epstein estate. They were released 1 week from the deadline when the Justice Department is expected to release its files on Epstein as required by the Epstein Files Transparency Act, the bill overwhelmingly passed by Congress.